Okay, and we are live.
Okay, very good. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. My name is Stephen Rodriguez. I am the superintendent for the Pottstown School District, and I am happy to be acting as a substitute chairperson. Our regular chairperson, Mr. Klein, could not be with us, and we have also had a few absences, but we do have Mrs. Spence, who is on the policy committee. So we are going to be moving forward with the committee tonight. And after we're done with policy personnel, we'll move into our curriculum committee meeting. So before we get started, first item on the agenda is public comment. So Mr. Santiago, could you please take a moment and see if there are any visitors who would like to address the committee?
Not at this time, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving right along, we have policy 707. Mrs. Spence, if it's okay with you, I'll ask Mr. Boyer to click into the policy itself, and then I'll make a couple of comments since I'm the person who asked for this to be on the agenda.
Okay, fine with me.
All right, great. So policy 707 is our use of facilities policy. I would like, and of course, one of the options is always to table and or just think about this, but I wanted the committee to know that I have found myself as the superintendent making some decisions and really felt like I needed the board to weigh in on this subject. So the subject is when people use and rent our facilities, typically speaking, it's for educational purposes. For example, YMCA or YWCA wishes to use our classroom spaces for activities for after school or on a weekend. We figure out how much it costs to turn on the lights and clean the place up or have a custodian on board. We give them a price, they pay. That's usually part of the baked in cost. And that's 99% of what the use of school facilities policy is good for. But if Mr. Boyer, you would scroll down, please. And yeah, right here. So I'm reading from the policy and then I'll give a little context here. Mrs. Spence, school facilities shall not be used for any purpose which is in conflict with the aims and objectives of the district. So that is important because it is one of the points of contention within the, I shouldn't say contention, but it's one of the points that we have used to make some decisions. And then if you'll scroll down, Mr. Boyer, to the very end, this is the item that I would like the board to consider. No rental shall be for any funeral, memorial, celebration of life, or related activities. And Mr. Boyer, if you'd stop your share just for a second so I can address. So the matter that has come before us is that for probably ever, our facilities were never used for celebrations of life or funerals. We had a couple of situations, including the death of a student and death of someone within the family, and the request was made, and eventually, with some serious hesitation, it was approved. But in that approval, our school counselors came back to us both the first time and the second time and said, having a funeral or a celebration of life in the school facility where students are going to be passing to go to their lunch every single day has been very difficult on their mental health. So they made the recommendation to me that we not do that anymore. And it made sense to me. We're a student first organization, so I said, okay, no problem. But then as a family recently made the request, they didn't understand that and felt like that was something that was the wrong decision. And I just really feel like the board needs to consider this publicly. They need to render a decision and say, is this a mental health issue, or is this a community issue? And I do understand that celebrations of life can be a great, bringing together of the community. I just know that the professionals, and I am happy to have them come speak to the committee if it's desired. But the professionals whom we trust for mental health have said, listen, that this is very hard on students, and they had those students coming back. So I just felt like, you know what, instead of me making this decision alone, I'd like to share it with my bosses. I'd like to get their opinion and find out what they'd like to do. So, Mrs. Spence, do you have any questions on
Well,
this subject?
I agree with you. I don't think it's the right place to have a funeral memorial, or even if it's a celebration of life, it's still remembering someone that's no longer with us. And it's a very sad time. And for our students, they may not understand that. This may be the first time they experience in a loss like that.
Mhm.
And it's like having to go back to a crime scene and live in it. So I agree. I don't think that's the right place for something like that. There are so many churches that they can have that in, or another facility, but I don't think it should be in school.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. I'm going to guess, and it looks like we have a question.
Yeah, real quick. When I wasn't watching the screen scrolling, you made a point about the rental of facilities has to have an educational component to it.
Yeah, I think what I said was that's the typical rental.
Okay.
So in terms of educational use, I mean, yeah, that
Question I asked is more if we go forward with a really nice athletic facility, that might be something that maybe wanted to be used for rentals for local community things. I mean, like we do Pride basketball, right? We've done that in the past. So things like that are still considered education.
100%. Yes. That is, we have those types of rentals all the time. We have, especially during the summer, we have summer leagues that rent our facilities, and of course we're as gracious as we can be because we want them to use our facilities and involve our students. So yes, that would not the I think what I was doing was giving an example of the typical rental.
Right.
But obviously a celebration of life or a funeral service would not be the typical rental. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to
Okay.
clarify that.
Yep. So it would be my suggestion that we simply to make it very clear, and I will say, there are other school districts who do this different. They rent to whomever, and they're not concerned. And maybe it's because their cafeteria and auditorium are not directly next to each other, so it's different. I don't know. Maybe they just have some differences with regard to philosophy. But there are also schools who had, like Pottsgrove, and I can say that because they just did it less than a month ago, who are saying, you know what, we're going to put this in writing. We're going to make it clear so that families don't think that they're being treated any differently. So that would be my recommendation. But Mrs. Spence, if you agree, we'll keep this on the agenda just to let everybody else put their 2 cents into it and make sure that we're good before we send it to the board for approval. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And one quick comment, just personally, I mean, I've been through loss in my life. I don't think sending out balloons or Chinese lanterns is good for the environment. Anything like that. I mean, I know celebrations usually include that. And that's usually what you get. They want to use Bridge Stadium. They want to launch balloons or Chinese lanterns. I think we should just be against that on the principle of environmental. That's all.
I agree. It's damaging the environment.
If you would like, we can add that to the change, because you're right, that is something that we have had requests to do.
Yeah, can
So,
you add that in
yeah.
there as well?
Mr. Boyer, would you please make a note, and we can add that right into, I think it's number 37, so that we're not looking at, it's just that one section that gets changed. And then if you would please, the section that I highlighted, which is the thing that kind of gave me the leeway to begin with, but I'm asking the board to kind of just put that back down to regular size, because that's not a change, it's already in there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, we'll move on to Mr. Jeffries, I believe, is going to address the Committee on Special Ed Compliance and a new position.
All right, good evening, board members. Um, after a whole year in the position, I've been able to kind of do an assessment of what's needed, and this next item is a budget neutral item, so it would involve swapping some current positions that we already have. Looking at, one of the things that we've struggled with over the last few years has been compliance, and having folks that are dedicated to monitoring, coaching, providing support with compliance of paperwork is, something I kind of see as the next progression to kind of get us in a position where, we have less of settlement agreements, we have less of some of the issues that we've had in the past. And having a compliance monitor would be that person that would have a heavy focus on the paperwork, heavy focus on compliance for special education, and review those things, provide feedback on those, and also provide coaching for our staff, ongoing coaching. One of the things I think we did a great job of is providing training. The thing that I think kind of fell through the cracks in the past was the follow-up and the coaching that is involved with that training. This position would allow someone to be an ongoing coach for a special education teacher that may, be doing well with the paperwork or may struggle with the paperwork, and be that ongoing coach to help them and assist them with that paperwork. And I think, that's kind of the next thing that we need to do to kind of solidify the department, is have folks and have those checks and balances as where paperwork is turned in, multiple sets of eyes are laid on that paperwork to look for compliance and also to provide feedback to our teachers. They also, with our 504 plan, so the person would work with IEPs, 504 plans, and review those documents, provide feedback to the teachers, provide coaching to the teachers, provide training for our new teachers, and helping to make sure that, we are sound with our paperwork and that we are compliant federally, state, and local regulations that we're compliant. So to me, that these positions are necessary kind of in the evolution of the department and where we're at now, and the ability to take us to that next level. So, we are more compliant, and then we have less of these issues that are popping up, through things that might have been missed in the past, or, paperwork issues that pop up.
I can just share the draft of the job description for the group.
So what's the position we're changing from? You said it was a swap, right? So what was the original?
So so part of it is we've had a lot of difficulty hiring psychologists, and right now we are understaffed with psychologists, and looking at different ways to do what we need to do in the department, because there's just no psychologists out there. So we would swap a psychologist position, we would swap one of our behavior specialist positions, and that would just repurpose those positions to be compliance coordinators. And I think that move would help us not only with kind of where we're going now, and make sure that we are in compliance. So swapping those two positions would make it a budget neutral type move.
So we're swapping psychologists.
Mm-hmm.
So students are going to get those services outside of the district.
No, so the psychologist positions at this current time, we are down about 3 psychologists. Like, we can't fill those positions at all. And part of what this job, and I might have neglected to mention it, is that this person would help with achievement testing. So some of that load that's on the psychologist providing that achievement test, and this person would be able to take that load on. And like I said, you know, sometimes you look at it and say, okay, well, we need this many psychologists, but then, you know, given the current environment, given the current, you know, what's going on in the world, you may not get those psychologists. So you have to think of creative ways in order to still be compliant, but also get the services that the kids need.
Okay.
And maybe I can add a little bit more context to that, Mrs. Spence, is that right now, my experience, and then also with other HR directors, school psychologists are probably the hardest hire in the school
Yes.
district,
Mhm.
for a number of reasons. The position of a school psychologist, as we know it, as being in the school, being with the kids, people are now school psychologists through the computer. They're just writing reports at home. They're not interested in being in the world of a school.
Yeah.
And people are, you know, paying them for their services. And that's why like districts are having a hard time filling school psychologist positions. So they're creative way to get the same service or different service just through a different type of position. Not saying this is exactly the same, but it does fill a lot of the needs that our school psychologists are, you know, burdened with when you don't have as many.
So we'll still be in compliance with the law,
Yes,
okay, by
absolutely.
someone doing the same job, just not having the title?
Well, not the exact same job. You know, when psychologists do their testing, they do a couple prongs. They do cognitive testing, the IQ testing, but they also do achievement testing. The IQ testing, the psychologist has to do that piece of it. But the achievement testing part of it, it does not have to be a psychologist. As long as the person is trained in how to administer those assessments, that person can administer those assessments. So with this position, if we train those people in those assessments, they could take that burden of the achievement test off of the psychologist's plate. So in essence, it gives the psychologist more latitude to do more testing because they can take that piece off of what they normally do.
Okay.
I will also say, Mrs. Spence, just to, and it sounds like we've covered most everything, but for me, I know, and you know, this is a public meeting, but every school district deals with compliance issues. And if they fail to comply, if they do not do what the IEP says, you know, within reason, obviously, but there are school districts, including ours, who have struggled to properly and appropriately provide students with a free and appropriate public education, or what we call FAPE. And you know, let's say they were supposed to make certain progress in a reading program, and for one reason or another, it wasn't recorded properly or it didn't do it properly, and then we end up doing those due process things that
Yeah.
you know, nobody, and especially our school board, we don't like that. We don't like that. So I think you know, and Mr. Boyer, Mr. Jeffries are attending to the details, but in terms of the general, I want you to know that we have heard the school board loud and clear.
Yes.
I think it's also, and can you just drop the share just for 1 second? Not that I don't mind. Thank you. So, you know, we've heard the school board loud and clear. It aligns with our own desires. So Mr. Jeffries and I, months and months ago, said, how do we, like, we know we've done all this training and we've hired, you know, new teachers, and, you know, we've talked about, you know, it takes a while for teachers to understand that sometimes when they make mistakes that could cost the district a lot of money. You know, how do we make sure that they get there? And we have good folks. And I don't want anybody to think I'm trashing on special ed teachers, because I was a special ed teacher. But it took me a while to figure out, oh, wait, no, when I do my progress monitoring, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And then I have to make sure to correlate it. And I didn't realize that I should have said, hey, let's choose some other programs, because for 3 years, this kid hasn't been doing well in this program. Maybe we should do something different. So the idea, like when Mr. Jeffries and I spoke, the idea was, let's go out and find a consultant who can come in here and tell us the problems that we're having and make sure like a third party that'll say, you guys aren't doing this and you need to put these processes in place and check on everybody once every 3 months. So Mr. Jeffries, how long did we search for someone to do that?
For months, for a few months. Yeah.
And what was the general response?
The people that we contacted, the IU, Patton, and some other organizations, they just couldn't handle the load of work. The amount of paperwork that we were asking them to review, they didn't have the manpower to provide that for us. So that kind of became a dead end, but that our desire was to improve compliance.
So
So after that, go ahead.
Yeah. Fast forward a couple months, and to
Yeah.
give Mr. Jeffries all the credit, because it was all him, he said, wait a second, what if we, change this here, move that there? We could get our kind of our own house compliance monitors that'll help us to make sure that we don't end up in hot water because we didn't do what we told parents that we said we would do. So that really, for me, is what this is all about. Does that bring enough context to other requests?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's great. As long as we're still within the rules, then absolutely. I think it should be a compliance officer in a lot of institutions. So the
Very
fact
good.
that we're having one and it'll prevent, or at least minimize the situations we've had in the past, I'm all for it.
Okay, very good. Mr. Boyer, would you please proceed?
Yes. So the next thing on the agenda is under personnel, and what we're asking, I think it was maybe a year or two ago, we had asked for a position which was the secondary supervisor of custodial services. We're asking to change that position to supervisor of custodial services. It says district there, it shouldn't say district. I'm sorry about that. But the reason for the change, or the ask for the change, is right now the secondary supervisor is really involved in the middle and the high school. He does do a lot of overlap with the elementary building custodial staff. So we're looking at, not changing his duties, but expanding, what he does, and, clarify that. And, it doesn't change anything money wise, budget wise, but, it simply would be, a switch of what was originally in the job description to have him operate, in the elementary buildings as well, help and supervise and do things with our custodians.
So essentially, he's gonna have more work, same pay.
No, I think it was.
Well, he or she, I don't know.
He is already being compensated for this now. Before we brought on our new facilities our supervisor of buildings and grounds, we had supplemented a couple individuals with $50 extra a day. And he was one of them. And it's essentially to consume those duties that he's still doing. And we wanted to now make that, part of his daily day, because he's doing such a good job in it, and it's actually helping the process. So it doesn't cost any more money. He's being compensated for that now.
Okay.
It essentially, instead of him having to go and say, hey, elementary folks, which, by the way, there is no problem. It's just one of those things where, like, it almost seems foolish that we're bringing this to you, because it's like, well, wait a second, what's the problem? Well, it says secondary, but we've been having him do work with elementary. So instead of asking him to continue to interact with folks, feeling like he doesn't have the authority to do so, anytime we change a title, the board says, listen, if you're changing a couple of things on the job description, no sweat. But if you're changing the title, we need to be involved. Now, typically speaking, when we change the title, it means other things, like a change in job duties or number of days, etc. Just so happens that in this case, that's not true. We want it to reflect that it's not just he's not just working with secondary, he's also working with elementary, and he's doing good work. He's making sure that we don't over order or under order, and he's coordinating efforts. And in the summer, it's going to be even better because we won't have to hire as many people to do the job. But again, we're law and order every time. The policy says that we come to the board for changes in job titles. So that is what we are doing.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Ms. Spencer, be okay if I move on to the informational items now?
Sure.
Okay. The first thing in the informational items is for us to continue with reviewing the proposal for recruitment and retention of Black educators at Pottstown. We're on number 16. We do have a report card that is something that we would like to report out related to the proposal. If you're okay with that, Ms. Spence, I'd like to look at that first.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you blow that up a little bit?
Yeah, it's
A lot.
right. Yeah, it's
If you
somehow
could,
that
if you could do two, will it do 200?
it should.
Okay.
Yeah, do 200, and then you can just scroll because the one side doesn't have much.
Yeah. So the first thing on the draft is just the report card is just a report out related to data and statistics with minorities and actually everyone in the district. But if you look here, these are some updated statistics for you to view. And this is as of January 10th. Okay, so if you look at the first part of this here, you can see, Act 93 exempt professional and support staff. And these would be the, exact numbers of minorities that we have across the board. So if you look Act 93, we have 5 minority staff, well, 1 Asian, 5 minority, 1 Hispanic or Latino, 18 white. And then across the board are the same statistics, but within different groups. Now, if you go to down here, it will actually go through like the raw percentage related to, the overall number here of employees, which would be 611. And we did this, I think last year around this time, but this is in a different format. I think it's easier to see just the representation with the numbers and percentages of things. And then, we also have, now this is a screenshot from the revised report, but we do have a revised report that shows all the raw data, and then also breaks the table down into groups and also breaks it down to the sheer numbers just related to the percentages. But, I don't know if there's any questions with this I can answer, but we wanted to be transparent as to where we were at right now.
So professional would be teacher?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we only have,
So we
Wow.
have professional,
Not-
we have 1 American Indian Alaskan, 2 Asian, 9 Black or African American, 6 Hispanic, total
and 264 white
Caucasian white.
teachers.
Yes.
We're 93% white. I mean, that's the reality.
I mean, that's a sad reality considering the demographics of the school district is opposite, right? 70, 80% minority.
You are 100% correct.
Yes. Now, if I go down here, and the reason I'm going down here is because you look here in this box, the minority hires from August to February. So this is current here. Act 93 is 0, exempt is 0. We have hired 4 professional staff. Now that number is as of January 24th. That professional staff here is now 6.
Okay, Mr. Boyer, point of clarification. You only hired 4 teachers since August?
No,
No.
he's saying minority teachers.
Oh, okay.
But
Thank goodness.
professional, does it include anything else outside of teacher? Professional is teacher only?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, everybody else is exempt.
got it.
So like exempt or professional, there are certain people like school psychologists as a point of recent example. They are professionals, they get paid a professional salary, but they're not in the teachers union. So we actually call that bargaining unit, but because nobody understands what that is, we call it professional.
Got it.
And I didn't add, like, the one young lady is, she will be in tomorrow to finish her paperwork. The other young lady, she started at the middle school last week. So that number would be 6 as of today, once they're all onboarded. Support staff would be 19, and co-curricular would be 6. So,
Okay.
you know, I think we're making some progress with that. You know, in comparison to what we look at, like, you know, we are as of the past month, though, we do have 2 starting at the middle school. One already just started, and one will be starting February 12th.
Okay, and so my question would be, is there anything right now in place to mentor, just like how you all said, well, Mr. Jeffrey said that the special education teachers, some of them require mentorship and coaching. I think anyone in any career profession, it's great to have a coach or a mentor. Will there be something in place as far as mentorship for them? Because
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard to be, what, 12 out of 200 and something, 281 teachers. Like, that's going to be extremely difficult, and maybe one of the reasons why, we can't get minority teachers to stay. They may feel uncomfortable. They may not merge with the culture. Is there any way that they can get some type of support?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have a mentor from day one. The young lady that's starting on the 12th, so she starting on the 12th, but she won't have her kids. She will be a week of mentoring. She'll be with the special ed supervisor, her mentor teacher, and then the next week we'll start with kids, and then, you know, also through the induction process, that mentor is assigned with her, you know, for a good amount of time.
Is that mentor somebody that is also a minority?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know exactly who the assignment.
I think I know where you're going, Mrs. Spence. And I think the answer is that there is an informal network, but there's no question about it. There's not a formal network of what you're talking about. It's a really good idea. And I would be in favor of that. The one issue is, and I know you're gonna hate me when I say this, but it is the truth. The one issue is, for example, if you have a minority school counselor, all the other counselors are of a non-minority descent, and so there's not a good carryover to what people are doing. However, I think one of the things that Mr. Boyer and I have talked about is, sometimes we know some good things that could happen, but we don't have the infrastructure right now. So we've been debating, like, how do we get the infrastructure to say, let's put some things in place. Let's make sure that folks of minority descent have an opportunity to meet and network with each other so that they can support each other when issues come up that won't necessarily come up for their non-minority colleagues. So we hear you loud and clear, and that might be one of the things that we can put on this report card. Obviously not today because it's not in place, but it would be one of the things that we would put on the report card as a demonstration of how we're making sure that we don't, we need to recruit them, but then we also need to retain them. And that's what I would put on the retainment part of the report card.
Absolutely. But I'm glad for the progress. So thank you for sharing that.
Mr. Boyer, I would just ask you, since we were at 24 minutes, if you can just please continue, but go quickly through the rest.
Okay. The recruiting events that we have participated in are listed here. The job fair, the diversity job fair, and there's also, the virtual job fair piece. Posts and advertisements that highlight minority employees. So you can see the numbers here from August to February as far as students and staff. We also have a recruitment video that, is out with every one of our job postings and advertisements on Talent Ed that highlights, our minority staff and then also our minority students. Recruitment programs that we're in right now, the Teacher Parity Project we have begun to participate in. That's not complete with the Health and Wellness Foundation, YWCA, the Paraprofessional Pathways. We have now have just started as of last week the Penn State Teacher in Residence program, and then also the Education and Healthcare Workforce Scholarship Endowment Project. This is all, recruitment programs that we can enlist our teachers in or people that want to become a teacher.
Is that Community Fair 2022 or?
No, we had participated that in 2022, and then also it was I think it's in the springtime would be this year. Maybe
Okay.
again, I don't know. We haven't gotten the information on that yet. And recruitment in-service programs, we're going to attend HR office 1 through Fox Rothschild with the hiring process related to unconscious bias. That's 2 weeks. Some things that we would like to look at from the proposal that you had submitted is, just the college contacts and visits, engagement with colleges, specifically HBCUs. Also, the Center for Black Educator Development is something that we would like to further investigate and hopefully develop some type of partnership with to help us recruit minority teachers. And then just, and I think this was number 8 on the proposal, the mentorship and training hubs, trying to localize recruitment within our community and create initiatives to do that.
Okay.
But that's the start of our report card. I wanted to make sure that we looked at that. I don't know if you have any questions. I can go back to the agenda now.
No, it looks good.
And then we have here.
May I suggest just very quickly that, Mrs. Spence, if you're okay with it, can you hit the other informational items so that we're through it and then go back to that? Because I don't think we're gonna get all the way through. I don't think we have enough time to get through all the items. But
Yeah, I mean, we could skip the proposal. I mean, the report card was great, so we could keep going.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so then I'll go to the Teacher Next Door program here. And the link is just an advertisement to the website, but this was just to let the committee know that there's a program designed for home ownership among teachers and other public servants just to increase and access affordable housing from discrimination. And I can certainly click on this.
Yeah. We did not know, Mr. Boyer, forgive me if I'm incorrect on this. You can correct me, but we did not know about this, and as a result of us looking through some of these suggestions, etc., we found this and wanted to include it in our portfolio to offer to prospective candidates. Did I get that correct?
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know, Miss Spence, you have you know, a lot of knowledge of real estate. I mean, have you ever heard of this before?
I'm familiar with teacher home buying programs, mostly out in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if they use this one.
Mhm.
But I'm not surprised that there's a national program because the one in Philadelphia, it's great.
Okay.
And it's probably modeled off of this, if it's not this. But oftentimes the teacher in Philadelphia, the teacher goes through the union and they help them with that process.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Stephen,
Mr.
real quick, I can't remember. This is kind of a little bit off topic, but when was the last time we talked about the home ownership program?
It
Last
was
year.
Yeah, it was a few months ago, if I recall. The board approved the last person who was in the middle of the home buying process. And that person did get the home as a result of the support of the board, which I'm really, really happy about, and has he and his family who attend our schools, you know, they're homeowners here and plan on staying for a very long time. So then you asked me to put it on the next committee, which we did. We had some discussion, but I believe it was essentially tabled for now as it relates to whether or not to put more money into it.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I think that's the way. Yeah. Okay.
I
I
think
just wanted to check on that. I mean, I think it's something that works and it's, you know, it has helped. So I don't know if you want to put it on the finance committee agenda again, or if we're going to wait another month or something. That's fine.
Yeah, so long as Mr. Hilton is good with it, I'm good with it. I believe that we talked about the biggest next issue was that the Puttstown Foundation, which
Right.
we could not administer the program. The foundation has to administer the program, and I believe, please don't quote me on this, but I believe that they had said, you know, that a 10% charge would be appropriate for the handling of all the paperwork and research and back and forth. Basically, we're using time for the executive director. So 10% of whatever we give. So if we gave, you know, say, you know, $10,000, we would just have to know that would mean there would be $9,000, or we'd have to give 11 and so forth.
Right. I got you. I got it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
And the next thing is just the school change codes. These are just codes and regulations and PA, just with updates and changes to address just educational needs and different laws and policies. So I wanted to show them to committee. And, you know, once this comes up, I'll have to blow this up. This is really
Yeah,
little.
that's
But there's a number of these in here that, you know, relate to substitute teachers, temporary substitutes, substitute teaching permits. You know, the class monitor one is one that, you know, I know that, you know, is something that's definitely being explored by a number of districts right now, which, you know, can have a person in there monitor while the instruction is being delivered, you know, virtually, or it's pre-planned for the students.
And to be clear, we use a monitor system here in the school district at the high school. Some of our students are taking online courses. They have a certificated teacher that certificated teacher, that it's through a program. So that program, like one kid could be learning Chinese and another kid could be learning some kind of integrated science or something of that sort. And then we have Mr. Henry who will sit in the room and assist them, make sure they're doing their assignments, etc. So we do utilize this. And now it is part of the law forever rather than just for the pandemic.
Isn't this something that we use at Beach Street Beach Studio?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
very similar process. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this is also a good idea.
And then there's, a number of other workforce related items with, the pipeline support grant, which I'm not too familiar with. But the one here, let's see if it's on here.
So this is recent law that passed this the end of last year.
Yes, and it
Okay.
means that we now can hire back our teachers if they're willing to come for so many days. I forget the number of days without it affecting their pension. So that's good news. Again, it's a very small slice of the pie, but it is something. So we're happy about that. And a couple of other items that we've been utilizing that are now part of there. It's codified in law, so we can keep doing it, which is good.
And I can send this whole document out to the board, but it's pretty long with things. But we wanted to just let the committee get their eyes on some things on here and the monitored ones that we are using. And then there is some things in here too related to part of the emergency certification process.
So if we click on the link in your agenda, will it take us to this, or you would have to give us permission to get into your documents?
No, you should be able to click on the link and
Okay.
get to it. I can also, if there's an issue with getting into it, I can email it out attached to if that helps.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think the first couple are probably the most relevant, but yeah, it's good news.
And that would be the rest of the informational items. The only one that is still on here that we haven't is the proposal. And I don't know if we have how much time we have on the clock.
We can go over that next month. Like I said, the report card covered a lot of the progress, so I'm very happy with that.
Great. So, Mrs. Spence, if there's no other questions, I want to pause before we go to public comment. Any other questions?
Not from me.
Okay, very good. I'll open it up to anyone else in the virtual room. Any other questions before I ask for public comment? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Santiago, let's give our other listeners a moment. Is there any public comment?
Not at this time, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you very much. So as temporary substitute chair, I thank everyone for coming, and we'll put this policy, we'll end this policy. You can tell I don't do this. I forget what the exact wording is, but it's over. We're done. So we will move on to the curriculum committee. Mr. Oxenford, you're in the room. Do you also have a guest?
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Yes, I do have a guest.
You do. Okay, very good. Then why don't I let you take over from here? Can you display the first of all, Mr. Santiago, would you please redo the timer for us? And go ahead, Mr. Oxenford, would you please? Oh, let me just, I'm assuming there's no other public comment since we just did it 1 minute ago.
There are not, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Oxenford, please go ahead.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Tonight, we do have a technology update from our Director of Technology, Shane Lentz. And then I have a handful of informational items I will cover after Mr. Lentz talks about some of his items. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Lentz.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oxenford. I'm excited to be here tonight, so thank you guys for having me. What I wanted to do is go through a lot of the technology updates that we've been working on throughout this whole school year because the IT department has been working on a lot of updates. So the first one that we have here is what we call VoIP, which stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, which is the fancy word for saying modern phones that we have that all districts are going with. We are implementing over to our new VoIP system here this month. We have collaborated with local vendors to get the best package deals. We have worked on the infrastructure preparation by updating our network, our security, ensure that there's all proper connectivity in all the buildings. We've gone through exhaustive testing at this point, including some final testing this week to make sure that everything will run smoothly. We've done some training, some communications that have gone out. In fact, we've been sending out tiered messaging throughout the past couple of weeks to make sure staff are prepared. And then we put together a cutover strategy to make sure it's smooth. And then we're working on the post-implementation support right now to get several folks in IT to be the key players that will support this VoIP system moving forward. So it's a really exciting time. A phone system is something that we don't upgrade very often. It could be once every decade or longer. So this is a big move, and we're really excited to do this for Pottstown. So the next item, yep, go ahead.
Since you're directly in my wheelhouse, are we using a hardware-based system or is it totally cloud?
So it is basically cloud here. So it's voice over IP is what we're going with. We're moving away from that traditional hardware base. So this gives us a lot more flexibility moving forward to troubleshoot issues, to access your voicemails. It gives us, we've worked with Mr. Rodriguez and everyone on the
just real
security
quick. So
committee.
we're hardware-based.
What was that? Sorry.
So we're hardware-based. We have our own EMS. We have our own servers and switches that are running.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Generic phones, or is it?
It's Grandstream system. So it's local. It's a popular company a lot of districts go with. In fact, almost half of our districts in the county are Grandstream right now.
So day-to-day database stuff like that, we hand it off to them, or are we doing that?
So we have a local rep. He actually lives really close. He comes over in about 5 to 10 minutes if something happens, but they do monitor it for us too. So if they don't catch it, we catch it on our end. If we see a switch is down and not working properly or something's not functioning, we can communicate with them, but they proactively monitor the system as well. And they catch the updates. And in fact, they do a lot of these updates after hours to minimize impact, which is great. But if it's an emergency and teachers don't have a phone or anything like that, they come out that day immediately to address it. So that's why we really like working with them. We've been working with it's Phone America. It's the main company we've been working with. Great local company. So very supportive.
I've worked there for about 15 years on and off. But I just want to make sure that we purchase the equipment, we purchase the phones. There are phones. We're not leasing. We're not.
Correct. There are phones. We're not leasing the equipment. So we're going all in on that to make sure that they can't take them back or anything like that. So
if we lose a switch, it's on us to replace it. It's not on them.
It's on us. Yeah, correct.
Right. Okay. That's what I was just going to say.
Yep.
You know, a lot of places are going totally cloud-based. You just give them your database changes, they do it. They maintain the whole switch, and you don't have to worry about anything. So we're still making hardware. We're still running on the same network. So we hub in each phone into our network's computers.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, we're running on the same network. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
We actually segment the network too, so we can watch the traffic, so the phones and cell phones bog down the network.
Right.
So these are great questions. This is awesome.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're using each phone as its own little switch. That's all.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's like I said, that's my life. So
nice. That's great.
Be on a little bit
with them. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and alongside of that, we popped on cybersecurity on the agenda here tonight because we've done some infrastructure upgrades over the summer and prep for the start of the new school year. But something that I've been really excited about, I've worked with Mr. Rodriguez on a lot, is two-factor authentication for all of our administrative accounts. That supports our cybersecurity efforts. So that's essentially when I go to log in, I get pinged maybe on my phone that says, hey, here's a code. make sure it's actually you to come in, another layer of security that's in place. So that was really nice getting that rolled out pretty smoothly this year. We actually did some secure faxing upgrades. This impacts nurses, and I'll talk about faxing a little bit later with the Toshiba upgrades, but that's actually a new requirement that we were able to check that box for cybersecurity requirements with faxing. We implemented GoGuardian, so this supports students and students who, I like to say, get creative in trying to get around our network and firewalls. This allows us to have better eyes on that and monitor the creative students, and then catch them. We kind of coach them on what not to do and making sure they're aware we have eyes on it. So we did implement that, and that's been really successful this year. And we continue to monitor our cybersecurity efforts to be proactive in case anything pops up. So then the next item on the agenda, I wanted to bring up Chromebook breakages. Mr. Rodriguez really worked with me on this. This was one of his big focuses to get those numbers down, and it is a big win. This year, our district-wide breakage reduction is pretty significant. It's averaging around 15 or so percent compared to last year. Fewer breakages. 15% might not sound like a lot, but when you're in a district with this many students, that's over 500 Chromebooks that we're minimizing, that we're breaking. When Chromebooks cost several $100s to replace in full, that's actually saving the district a ton of money, which is fantastic. And I have to give a shout out to the middle school because they actually brought their numbers down even more. They're a little over 20% now compared to last year, which was fantastic. As a middle school, we had a lot of challenges there. So they did great with that. And partly, I think, why we were successful is the Chromebook responsibility form that was really pushed heavily this year. We made some adjustments to it. Mr. Rodriguez really put his foot down, which I liked here. Did a really good job communicating to families to make sure they understood. You break it, you bought it type of a model unless you get the optional insurance. It's been much better this year, much more manageable, saving the district money. We've been faster turnarounds on our repairs because we're not so bogged down now with so many broken Chromebooks, which means that kids aren't without a device at all. We have plenty of loaners, but last year it was starting to stretch our loaners to get down to the bare minimum. So it's been really great this year. I'm looking forward to continuing that trend moving forward. So the next item on my list then is PowerSchool implementation. What maybe you guys don't realize is when we switched the student information system, which we were using eSchool, and we went to PowerSchool, that process actually started planning and prep in the fall of 2022. So there was a lot of work and a lot of moving parts to do this. And again, like the phone system, this is something you don't do every couple of years. Switching a student information system might be once every 10 plus years. So, and I believe eSchool was about 10 plus years ago. So we successfully cut over in the summer, offered various trainings and supports for staff. And that student information system is your central hub. So that's where all of your data, all the student information gets pushed to all the other systems, including auto rostering for all the apps that they're using in the classroom. Everything had to be reconfigured. And so we worked with all of that, including My School Bucks, including anything for kids that might need transportation. All of those things are impacted by the student information system. So we got all that reconfigured. And on top of that, we implemented School Messenger. And I know Mr. Rodriguez, the principals, they use that a lot. That's the mass communication system that you're seeing messages coming out to the community, to the parents. And that integrates into PowerSchool. And one of the big reasons why we want to use PowerSchool is because of those types of integrations and custom reports we can create. We're now at a point where we are creating custom reports that are highly detailed and can be customized per building, per principal need, per even staff need. And so we're actually working on that now and creating new connections to automate the flow of our data. So really excited about PowerSchool. Next thing I want to jump into is the IT maintenance and collaboration for our power loss. So this was something we in IT coordinated with maintenance, and we developed an understanding of the connectivity challenges that might occur during a power loss. And so we coordinated with them to do a site survey of all the buildings and facilities. And we actually did do several tests of our backup systems. And this was a collaborative effort to do it during a downtime, so we weren't impacting students and services if services didn't come back up. We did learn from that. We actually had to replace a couple uninterruptible power supplies, or UPSs. These are the battery backups essentially that keep the network running. So in the event of power going out, the network doesn't go down, so emergency systems are still in place. So we were able to catch those, and maintenance was able to do the configurations on their end. So now we've upgraded the UPS units in key networking areas, upgraded some of the infrastructure, so we're even more resilient during power losses. So that's something that districts don't do often, and I was really glad that we did it, because in the event it happens, we know we're prepared and ready to go. So that was a lot of fun actually to coordinate, because again, it doesn't happen often, but we feel we're very confident now in that. The last thing I want to bring up is Toshiba copiers and printers. Now, it might not sound fun, but this is something with copiers and printers that every 5 years we're on a plan where we have to renew the agreement for all of the copiers, the printers that we have throughout the building. And this does include upgrades to the secure faxing. And so we coordinated with the business office to get the best value and the best pricing and terms. And we were able to upgrade key copiers in key areas. We moved a lot of copiers and really upgraded the printer fleet as a whole. So this was a big implementation too. Again, every 5 years, this just so happened to be, it's time to do this. So it was great collaboration with the business office. And since Nick is on here, I do have to give him a special shout out, because Nick in IT was the one that really took the lead and got eyes on every single printer and literally touched every single printer to make sure, yes, it actually did work. We're okay. If it didn't, let's coordinate with Toshiba, get it figured out. He was instrumental in getting this set up for everyone. So, and thanks for that thumbs up. So for the IT, it's a lot of good stuff that we've been working on this year, and we got some other great projects coming down the pipeline, but I'll pause there to see if there are any questions.
I have a question. Sorry, I didn't
Sure.
put my hand up. With Power School, I know that there's been like a couple small, like, issues with like uploading like has there been any like big issues that you guys have seen, or have you been able to kind of overcome the things that have come up? Like, I think report cards was something.
Yep. Report cards, there was a grade calculation issue that was discovered right at the last minute. And rather than sending out grades and pulling them back, saying, wait a second, we got to go recalculate, Stephen made the call there to say, time out, let's do it right once, let's get communication out. And I do have to admit, it is frustrating, but it is growing pains with a new system. And actually, I was just talking to our supervisor of data services this afternoon about all of that, and pulling all hands on deck to make sure we are figuring out these things. We're utilizing all of our resources. We're actually pulling in additional supports to help with that. And we have additional Power School supports in that first year, which has been really instrumental, because there are things that you don't predict that you might run into. And I admit we did run into challenges. Definitely did. And we've learned from them. We're working through them and what we're trying to do is make sure not implementing a quick fix, but a permanent fix that's sustainable. We could have implemented the quick fix with grades, push the button for just one school, one building, but we'd have to reel it back. It was going to cause more issues. So we said, hey, let's take that little bit of extra time and knock it out like properly. So we are working through it, and I think it's getting a lot smoother now. And we're planning ahead. Actually, we have a meeting scheduled to plan ahead for the rollover coming up for next year. What are we going to do? Let's make sure everyone's aware for that.
And I'll have an additional comment, but Mrs. Spence, you have a question.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the voice over the internet system. Is that like a Ring Central in Vonage, where your phone service is connected to the internet? And if so, how is the 911 system? Which brings another question. I guess this is a superintendent question. Mr. Rodriguez, if it's a real emergency, like what's the process to call 911? Because I know there's like some rules. I'm not sure if I'm
Yeah.
using the right word, but there are
Yeah.
rules about the 911 system when you're using a voice over internet protocol, because it
Yeah,
may
it's-
be sending you to one location, right? Like where the server is, and not
Correct.
to the
And-
actual emergency. But can a teacher use their cell phone? So all those questions.
Yeah, so you're exactly on point with regard to some of your concerns, and it's actually some of those concerns is why the law required us to do some of these upgrades. So I worked with Mr. Lentz, who was working with Phone America, et cetera, and we actually had to identify different places in the building so that you might not go, they're not going to know where room 211 is or 314, but they'll know the entrance. So we worked with our security council, and that, just as a reminder, Dr. Latanya White is our security coordinator liaison. Once a year, she gives a report. One of the things that she does is she leads a committee. I sit on the committee, and she went through, and we had a proposal of, okay, here's where all the places, if none, first of all, if power goes out, we still have 911. That's number one.
Okay.
And that was not true with the old voice over IP system. That was part of the upgrade. So we still have we still have 911 if power goes out. That's number one. So nobody can cut the power like, Die Hard, the old movies, and now we can't get that's not how it works. So number two, depending upon where that phone call comes from, there are maps, and our emergency services already have it laid out, so they know you don't have to go to the main entrance and then waste 5 minutes getting to the back. They know exactly where to go. Now, you bring them to the general place. It's not the specific place, but it's far superior to what we had before. So great questions.
Okay.
We're
Very-
lucky because E911, okay, in a business sense, is a lot harder to maintain. But since we're doing buildings, classrooms, once it's in, for the most part, it is in. And real quick, Shane, we do have PPOE over all these phones.
Yeah.
Those switches are backed up the battery, right?
Yep, they're back. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And is our Power School backed up? Because
Power
if that's
School,
where
if
everything is.
Yeah, if you lose power, no problem, because Power School is hosted by MCIU, and I can really speak to that because I manage that. And we have multiple redundancies, not just one, not just two, but we have 3 redundancies working on a 4th, and we actually are working to expand that even further. So if that goes out, it's another nice thing. Power School itself would not go down. You're okay there. And from the E911 piece there, it is very important. I'm glad that we're moving in this direction. One thing that we were able to create are called hunt groups with this. So let's say in the high school, if someone does call 911, actually what happens is multiple people are going to be pinged. So we all know instantly, oh my gosh, there's a 911 call. We don't even need to talk. We know it's happening, and we get that basic info instantly, which is fantastic. So that's been nice. We worked out all those little hunt groups and things of that nature in all the buildings. And then we can update them as time progresses too, really easily. It's just one quick call that we have to make to Phone America. They switch it super fast.
I forgot about that. Thank you, Mr. Lentz. And
Yep.
and to the Power School question, the best way that I can describe our experience, because Mr. Lentz is right, it's once a decade, if not more, 12 or 15 years would be nicer. And I think that's what it'll be with Power School if we ever change. So but in order for people to understand, there is so much data. It is very much like constructing a battleship. We know how to do it, but you got to have the shipyard, you got to put everything in place, right? But just because it's built, which is what I would call the beginning of this year, you also have to have a shakeout tour, which is you go out to sea and you try things and you realize, oh, all this stuff we thought was perfectly fine, there's a compartment that's filling up, or there's an engine that's not running right. And I admit, because some parents, including today, Shane, don't worry, I'll email you later, have reached out and said, hey, listen, my stuff isn't working. And it takes an extraordinary amount of time to figure out why the engine isn't working or the compartment is filling up, because we did all the construction, but now it's, one thing's off and it's broken for, one person, but not the other. So we are definitely in our shakeout tour or our shakeout, voyage. And it is a little painful, and second semester was really painful, but we did get through it. And I asked the supervisor of data services, I said, do we need to like get everybody in a room and like, do we have to rip the ship apart again and figure it out? And she said, no, actually, like we're through the worst of it. We're actually set up. I do not believe that this will happen third quarter or fourth quarter. We're through it. So that's good news.
Yeah, that's the answer I was looking for. Not that you didn't do a good job, Shane. I'm sorry. But you explained your piece and that was perfect. But I had heard, and myself has experienced like login kind of issues and like just like not being able to find where things are and that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to know if other people were having that or if it was user error.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was able to get my stuff together and other people I know that were having similar issues were able to get it together, but I just wanted to know if you were aware of it and how that was going. But it sounds fine. I mean, I know it was going to be, kind of messy in the beginning. I will say I've heard good things about the document signing. I've heard that that's been really convenient. And which we didn't have before, at least not in this way. So yeah, but thank you. I appreciate that.
No, thank you. Great questions. I really appreciate it. It's great to talk about all the stuff that IT is doing. So any other questions?
Okay.
No?
Shane,
All
thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you. I'll hand it back to Mr. Oxenford.
Thank you, Mr. Lentz. Next up on the agenda, we have a handful of items, but we're actually going to move the Lego Spike video to right now, if that's okay. This was on delay from the December in-person meeting. So we're going to give Mr. Santiago a quick second to cue it up and play the short video.
The LEGO Spike program is a standards aligned program that is built for grades K through 4. It gives the skills of working together. It also provides the students with the ability to follow directions and also follow directions that are in picture form. I asked them how many are familiar with IKEA. They all are, and I use that as an example. If they do one step wrong, is their piece of furniture going to look right? And they're like, no. And they transfer that to when building their Legos. If something is not done right, it's not going to function properly when they go to programming. It also gives them the ability to troubleshoot in case something is not right. They go back and they seek out the problem and see what is wrong and then correct it. And most importantly, for the 21st century, we are building coding skills. They're understanding how to program and code their Trash Monster or their Treehouse, the two things we have built so far, and see it actually function after they put the program into their computers and have it work.
This is another example of a project which was successful because of our committed staff members who were willing to put in additional work in order to bring this opportunity to our students. In the fall of 2022, we worked with a STEM project consultant at the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit to set up a visit to the elementary schools. Our teachers witnessed the value of the resource, and our librarians, Mr. Fries and Mrs. Aloysius, ensured this became an internal resource which will benefit students at a greater level.
Use the correct pieces and make sure you're following the picture directions and making sure you're putting the right quarter piece in the right place. I learned how to program and code my trash monster. I programmed it by using a computer. Working as a team means to work together and listen to who's talking and to understand what's going on with the Legos, and we work together. Being a leader was fun, and I liked helping my team work together, make our Lego treehouse. I thought using the Lego Spike Kit was fun and interesting because it connects us homes instead of to play with Legos. It was a little hard, but fun. We made some mistakes. We all got a chance to program it, and it was very fun.
But most of all, it is fun. The kids are on task, they're working together, and they're having a good time. There are a lot of smiles on the faces, and there's a lot of learning going on. So we really love the Lego Spike Kits, and the students do too.
Any questions quick before we move on to the next topic? All right. Great. So the next,
I'm sorry, I have a question. I couldn't click the hand raise in enough time.
that's okay. Go ahead.
What program language are they learning?
I don't know that I'd be able to speak Mr. Heidel and Mr. Lentz language, but it's called the Lego Spike program, and you can look it up. It you know, we tried to put out some quick little videos so you can see some of the visuals, but right now we have it in grades 1 through 4 at the elementary schools, and actually through the support of the foundation, we're working to get it set up in kindergarten. Yeah, I mean,
that's fancy for we don't know.
yeah, I don't know if there's some complicated.
And did they build a 3D printer out of Legos?
No,
Did I
that would
see
be cool if they did. No.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, but they are doing some coding. So what happened was we brought in someone from one of the directors from the IU. He did this visit and hit all of the elementary classes through the librarians. Like, they set it up, we organized it, and they came in, and it was like a 1-day event, and it was great, and the kids loved it. And you know, Mr. Freeze and Mrs. Lucius, who are pretty forward thinking, like, they're not your no offense, but they're not your traditional librarian. You know, like, they are, you know, not just checking out books, like, they are media specialists, and they understand the value in all of that. And they were the ones sort of knocking on our door saying, we've got to figure out how to get this in here so that it's not just a visit that happens once in a while with an outside person. We want some sustainability that we can do it. And if we promise to, you know, run it, get it going, and make it successful, will you send us to the workshops to get us trained to be able to facilitate it the right way and get us the kits? And it was pretty hard to say no to that. And so we got to say yes, and they've done great work with it just to get started.
Well, I like it because I still play with Legos, so I'm not embarrassed
I think we all
about
do.
it. Not at all. Thank you.
That's good. So the next topic that's on our agenda is called personal finance. So there's been some legislation passed in 2023, and I believe there were a couple of emails circulating just referencing this, and I think questions about whether or not this was in a district. But the question of the committee right now, Ms. Canciatic, Mr. Hilton, since this is not necessarily a time-sensitive topic, is this something that you would want to hear about now or consider postponing until the next meeting? And I'm prepared for either, so I'm good. If you want to say, yep, I want to hear about it, I'm good.
In my judgment, since there's only 2 people here from the committee, I'd wait so everybody can hear it.
Okay, I promise we will talk about it at the very next meeting, which is on March 7th. So I'm gonna
just for
go ahead.
clarification, Mrs. Cancianic, were you of the same opinion, or do you have a different opinion?
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure you're heard.
Sorry about that. I was a little too fast to turn over the paper. The next thing I'm going to display, we're going to click into, can someone just give me a thumbs up that they can see something that says Explore Learning? All right, good. So this is, I'm actually clicking into the Reflex dashboard, and I want to talk a little bit about Reflex and Frex. So we implemented Reflex a couple years ago because there's been an ongoing concern about the problem with not having enough exposure to basic facts, and we want our students to, spend more time being more fluent and speed up the process, the level at which they can solve basic facts. So the district had put Reflex into place a couple years ago as one of the tools it's built into like a gaming system. So it's a little bit more entertaining than just the flashcards or some of the traditional models that have been in place. But we've had that in place, and I'm going to show you a quick thing that will walk us through some of the metrics of how many problems our teachers have had students solve. And I'm going to sort of clean up how I'm explaining this a little bit more. So 5 buildings are currently using it. All 4 elementary schools and the middle school uses it. It really is designed for up to and including, I'm going to say roughly 5th or 6th grade. So there are 7th and 8th grade students using it. 2nd grade uses it full-fledged, and 1st grade starts to introduce it in the second half of the year. In 1st grade, you don't go straight into just solving facts and focusing on fluency just yet. You got to make sure you understand what it actually means before you expect students to start practicing their fluency. But one of the nice things about this dashboard is that in a quick little toggle, I can see by building how many facts students have solved just this school year for the first half of the school. And this requires next to no teacher attention. So this means that at Barth Elementary School, 1.06 million math facts were solved at that building since the start of the school year with next to no teacher work. And in the district, 6.74 million facts. Okay. And what's nice about this, again, I can toggle this by grade, and you can see it'll tell me how many active students there are, some other metrics inside, but really at that grade level, at 6th grade, how many facts have been solved. And you can see 6th grade is using it at a pretty high level. And if you go down to grades 4, 3, and 2, which are really the primary grades who would be focusing on that, you see upwards of 1.7 to almost 2 million facts solved. And then grade 1, obviously, they're at a little close to 250,000 facts solved just since really getting up and started just recently. So I have to be careful about clicking too far into any of these because they will pull up student names. Okay, so with that being a pretty successful program and a good resource as an additional layer for our students here, Frax came along. So Frax is actually an add-on of Reflex, which is a focus on fractions. And if it can help jog your memory, in the spring of last year, you approved the purchase of the add-on of Frax. But we, prior to doing that, had a free pilot from Reflex where 24 teachers across a whole bunch of grade levels piloted it, because I wanted to be able to come to you and say, if we're going to use this, I have a handful of teachers. I ended up having 24 who like it. They see value in it. They say, yes, I will use it. I can definitely see that students will benefit from it. And I think we all highly respect the opinions of our teachers. So when they can give that to us, and that's one of the reasons we do the pilots and put those into place. So we did purchase Frax, and I want to show you, again, it's not used at the scale that Reflex is, but you can see how many problems have been solved. I'm going to point your attention all the way over here to average problem solved, because when you look at this, I know when I first pulled up the Frax dashboard, I thought, well, those numbers are not great at all. That's the average number of problems solved. So just do me a favor. I'm toggling over top of this, and I see a black box popping up. Can you see that? All right, because sometimes the pop-up feature doesn't show. So when I toggle over top of that, that actually shows how many problems grade 3 has solved. And grade 3 just started to introduce this. And they're already at, across the board, almost 16,000 problems solved, and a total of 75 students, right? Now, again, because it's new and it's just getting started in 3rd grade. They don't start it till the second half of 3rd grade. But when you go down to grades 4, 5, and 6, you'll see there are a lot more students enrolled, which are pretty much the entire students across the district. But then as I toggle over top of it, you can see that just in 4th grade alone, there have been 230,000 fraction problems solved. And remember, not one of these were designed by a teacher or took really teacher effort. So I wanted to show this to you just as, we'll call it just an update on the usage, and that it's giving our students a lot more exposure. And I can assure you, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't do it. So they are, it's a really good version of playing with some things, because you can only say, how many ways can you slice the pizza so many times before you run out of fraction things to talk about? So, this resource is another example of, if you're able to purchase something that supports what we're doing, you can give our students better exposure. Questions? Okay. All right. The next couple of things I want to get into, I think you've heard this before. I think I reminded everyone in the spring of last year about our reading adoption. So we did a reading adoption in the spring of 2023. And I think I gave you a heads up that in the spring of 2024, we're going to come to you with a proposal for our math adoption, because we already do. It's on a 6-year cycle, and there's a bit of a cascading schedule. So, they're not all due at the same time. They sort of cycle through. So I'm not a big fan of just personally picking a product and saying to the entire K-8 system, or K-12, or K-6, or however it's configured, this is the resource you're using, and don't mess it up. Like that's not how we do it around here. So starting in the fall of 2023, we started working with the IU to identify all of the resources offered in Montgomery County, and there were a total of 7. And out of those 7, we communicated with all 7 of them, and we circulated 8 questions that were, we'll say, roughly composed by some of the members of the math curriculum writing team. So based on those responses, all 7 of those companies responded to those 8 questions. We put those questions together, and a team of 16 people, math writers, K-12, sat down and evaluated every one of those resources based on the responses provided by each one of those companies that we put out. And from that, we narrowed it down and decided that we were going to continue with a pilot of 2 products for further consideration, and eventually one of those will go for recommendation. Right now, we have 16 teachers, that's 4 times as many as what I thought we were going to have. We had 16 teachers volunteer to pilot. The last set of teachers to get trained in a resource actually happened this afternoon. The first set happened a few days ago. And after hours, they're getting trained in this new resource. We have almost every grade level represented. And what they're going to do is they're going to start to implement this in their class. And it provides us a firsthand look into not only the product, but how user-friendly it is. We hear feedback directly from them. We've got check-in points. And then what will happen is that team will reconvene and essentially figure out which one of those best meets our needs, based on student needs, based on the forward-thinking progress that we're trying to make with some vertical alignment that we put into place recently. So as of now, I will tell you that the original plan was to come in April with a proposal. I'm going to say realistically, to make sure we give enough time and not cut ourselves short, I think I'm going to come to you in April with a price range recommendation and sort of an overview of what to expect, so that we don't fall behind on budgeting. But realistically, I'm going to say that the recommendation for the final product will come at that meeting in May. So I want to make sure the timing, there's just not a lot of time in a school year. It's just incredible to think about it. But again, I didn't want to just meet with some companies, buy into something, and then come to you with a recommendation. We're doing this a very long and arduous way, but by the time our teachers give their thumbs up on something, I can assure you it is the product that will best fit what we need. Questions on the math? So just to piggyback on that, through the CSI planning, if you remember, our Pottstown Middle School is in comprehensive support and improvement, right? And we presented to you in the spring of last year that plan, which we will present to you the annual update on that later on this year, probably in June. One of the things that was identified was that our ESL population really needs some attention. And as we started to ask more questions, the CSI process forced us to dig a little bit deeper into it and ask those questions. And it turns out we've been expecting our ESL teachers to just sort of patch it together, do the best they can, hope for the best, and that's it. And I think that flies in the face of where we've gone with having more of an ambitious assessment cycle to have insight into our progress and correcting course when we're off course and not going too long before we know something's working or not working. So in the spirit of that, we started exploring for ESL resources, and it turns out there really are not that many. So finally, we were able to locate 2 resources, which there are some school districts using. And after having them come in and meet with us and the ESL teachers who have been front and center on this, we narrowed it down to 1 that we're going to pilot. And we are starting the pilot. And those, all 4 ESL teachers, we have 4 in the district, 2 at the elementary who are split between 2 buildings, 1 at the middle school, 1 at the high school. All 4 of them are getting trained first thing tomorrow morning on this new curriculum resource. And again, what they're going to do, they're going to figure out the best place where it fits, which set of students based on their needs, based on the levels. Does this resource align to the needs? Then the other piece with this is it comes with a benchmarking tool, which gives us some insight into having a solid starting point and then knowing whether or not, after a window of time, have we made the necessary progress. ESL is a bit of the timing of that world is different. They're actually doing their state assessments right now, which means they're assessing right now, and it's a long window. I'm talking it's 5-6 weeks long. Like, it is long. They're not like a student doesn't test every day, but the teacher has to test one-on-one. Like, it takes a long time. And then if we're lucky, we get the results in early June, way after we can do anything with it. And then you come back in August, and then you've got really the half of the school year up to including winter break to get it done. So we need to have immediate information so that the remaining part of this school year can be used to get a year's worth of growth under our belt. Otherwise, we've cut our timeline in half because we won't talk about it till September when we have everyone together and we actually have the data in front of us to use. So we've gone through Linkit to allow to take all of our raw data, put it in there. They've been able to get access to better user-friendly reports of previous access results. So we're really doing our best to try to take care of the ESL teachers. Our hope is that when we come back to you, we're going to have a recommendation for a product that not only provides a benchmarking tool, but will help be a better product. It's not going to be the product, but it's going to be a much better product because not giving our ESL teachers anything and expecting them to do something miraculous is just unreasonable.
I'll just mention, Mrs. Kansianik.
Oh, awesome.
Well, you might answer my question. So,
just that this is that important. If we do not get the scores up of our ESL, which we have a very small population of ESL, but they're an important segment. And if we do not pay attention to this, we could see massive growth everywhere else. And it won't matter. We'll stay in CSI designation. So it's, and again, committee members have heard, this is one slice of the pie. You've heard other slices of the pie at other points, including in December when we met and we had all the House principals speak through some of the difficulties that they were going through, as well as some of the successes. So this is, we don't want you to see this as a one-off. It's part of the overall strategy to make our students more successful there. Mrs. Kansianik.
yeah, my question was, is this like in replace of other things that we have, or is it in addition to, like, I don't know, do the ESL students do, the reflex and all those other measuring tools as well? Like, and this is gonna assist in that, or is it separate?
Yeah, they do. And the ESL specialists, they have a pretty arduous task in that what they have to do is a little complicated because they have to balance out the demands of the general ed teacher. So the teacher says, look, I need this, this, and this, and the kid needs to focus on this. So they've got to take that into consideration. But really, their focus has to be on language development, right? So they've got to somehow say, well, like, how can I do the language development with some of the things that you need that are supposed to be happening in class? Because I need you to be in there, but I've got to, like, I can't necessarily just pull you out all the time and teach you a language and then say, I'm going to send you back and expect you to sort of be okay. So it's not in replacement what I would say is they don't have anything that is language specific in that addressing this. And the things that we have are phenomenal, but they're not phenomenal for English language learners. They're good, but they're not built for it specifically.
No,
So,
yeah, that makes sense. I was just needed clarification on that
no,
because
yeah. But again, your ESL teachers, they're going to use it, and I can assure you, they're going to let us know what they like and don't like.
okay.
I can assure you. So, all right, good. And the last thing on the agenda, I'm going to do a quick overview. So tomorrow we actually have a district-wide in-service day. So this is the second to last one of the year. This is our sixth one of the year, but I think that we have got a lull for full in-service days until I believe May 17th. So tomorrow the focus is on mid-year data. We're doing data review, instructional planning, and parent conference prep. Parent conferences on the scale down night, the one night only, is on Thursday of next week. There is a structure that we have put in place to make sure that our staff members are reflecting on the progress of students over the first half of the year, and then taking a really careful look into what's coming up in the second half of the year and taking what they learned from student learning for the first half of the year and apply that to the second half of the year so that we are extremely strategic with meeting the needs of our students. They're going to meet whole group, small group, bunch of individual planning, and building principals are doing some whole group data review and some celebrations with their staff. And I think it's going to be a good day because that's how they're going to kick it off. And Mr. Rodriguez actually has a video, roughly a few minutes long, that will kick it off inside each one of those meetings if people haven't watched it by then. And it's very good video. And I think he hits the nail right on the head with the purpose of tomorrow. We're going to be reviewing, just so you remember, some of the products. Edmentum, which is split out into ExactPath and Study Island. Again, middle school products that have not been in place before, but you guys helped put that in place. The Lincoln Benchmark Assessments, K-8, these have been huge into giving us insight into content-specific progress with students, core level progress. Our Acadience, which has been around for a little while, gives us insight into student reading skill development. The high school is going to be working on Indicator 13, which is part of the state performance plan for special education, has to do with transition plans, the secondary transition plans. And then they're going to be tightening in elements of 339, which is part of our college and career readiness requirements. And just so you know, I'm just going to say these back to you. FRAX, Math Adoption Pilot, ESL Adoption Pilot, the Lego Spike last year, Edmentum, ExactPath, Study Island, and Linkit. All of those were tested by teachers who went out of their way to volunteer. So I figured, just as I was like looking through here, I'm marking this off saying, wow, we do a lot of piloting and it takes a lot of work to get to that place. But I think it speaks to, at the district level, how much we respect the opinion of our teachers and we allow them to test run it. Let's learn from it. And then it really equips us for the fall because now we have some experienced people who have used it, who are there to support. And then actually come August, we can hit the ground running because we have some internal experts who are a couple steps ahead. And it has just worked out so much. But that does not happen without continued extra commitment of our teachers who continue to go above and beyond and just willing to say, yep, I'll do it. Nope, I'm not going to wait for someone else. Yep, sign me up. And it happens and continues to happen. And that's it's impressive. So I think it inspires us and the administrative team to, keep rolling up our sleeves and keep cranking. So with that, I believe that is a complete agenda. I will mute myself.
Committee members or other board members in attendance, do you have any questions for Mr. Oxenford? Or I see there Mr. Boyer. Hearing none, Mr. Santiago, would you please check to see if there is any public comment, which is the last agenda item?
Not at this time, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I will complete my substitute temporary duties as chairperson in the absence of our regular chair and say thank you very much. I hope this has been informative to you. We're proud of the progress. We know we got a long ways to go, but we are very happy to be making progress in some very important areas. And with that, I bid you good night. Thanks, everybody.